this is something I want to show you now, the question of whether or not the AIP, the Atlanta Independence Party in Alaska, is an organization that has ties to Sarah Palin and her husband. So has been reported many times. The question is, what kind of organization are they? They're refuting that they are secessionists. Here's a little bit of sound from a special that we prepared for you tonight.
Over here. Do I hate America and Americans? No. I don't hate anything. I dislike what they've done to a very fine idea. I dislike it intensely.
They invited us, so we went all the way up to Alaska to sit down and have a conversation with the leaders of the AIP. It's an exclusive that we're going to be sharing with you. And then Jeffrey Toobin, our legal analyst, is going to be joining us as well to break down what they're asking for, what are their demands, and much more. Stay with us. That's special. It'll be right after this break. Watching our newscast as we move forward. Well, we've gotten a lot of response to our segment on the Alaskan Independence Party. A lot of media response and response from you, thousands of you writing in. AIP has a strong secessionist leaning. You might say anti-American, and some have. And their vice presidential nominee, Sarah Palin's husband, was a member. Palin herself addressed the party as a governor and told them to keep up the good work. Because you asked us to, we followed up on our original segment, and we've gone all the way to Alaska to talk to their leaders to get their side of these accusations.
Strawberries and rhubarb on the other side of this.
Those raspberries come big as your thumb.
The chair and vice chair of the Alaskan Independence Party live on this quaint homestead in cold interior Alaska, where they proudly hunt their own meat and grow fruit and vegetables in a homemade greenhouse.
Oh, it's nice and warm in here. Fire up, baby.
Even though Dexter and Lynette Clark were not born here, they are quick to call themselves Alaskans.
Sometimes maybe even just in how you say it. Alaska.
Clark argues that Alaska isn't just a place on a map. It's a state of mind.
Nowhere I've ever been where the dream that our founding fathers had for America has as good a chance of survival as it does in Alaska. It takes that independent spirit. It takes that ability to stand on your own 2 feet.
Longtime prospectors, the Clarks spend most days working a mining claim in their own backyard. The company name speaks to what they believe.
Minding my own business.
The Clarks speak openly about lessons learned over 50 years of statehood. They disdain government dependence and contend the current U.S. financial crisis is proof that government is too big.
An empire loses touch with its people. The American empire has gotten too big. It seems that everything needs to be bigger so it will be better. And I think the lesson in Alaska, it doesn't have to be bigger to be better.
Clark believes the vote for statehood was conducted illegally and says Alaska's resources are now being robbed. As the party's vice chair, he publicly argues for a new vote.
The very first thing we say in our platform is we pledge that the United States Constitution and the state of Alaska constitutions should be enforced as written, and we should live our lives politically by those documents as written. Not the way that some of them have become interpreted over the years.
The Independence Party's 20-point platform never mentions the word secession, but repeatedly calls for greater states' rights, specifically when it comes to the right of Alaskans to access public lands unencumbered. He says that's why AIP's founder, Joe Vogler, said, quote, "The fires of hell are frozen glaciers compared to my hatred for the American government."
And the Supreme Court refused to hear it. To Joe, that was the end of hope for the United States, when the highest court in the land would not even hear his argument. That made him very bitter.
So bitter, Vogler went on to say he would not be buried under America's, quote, damn flag. Clark insists those comments have been taken out of context by critics.
The people that have been involved in this movement are ordinary people. We're not terrorists. We're not white supremacists. We were promised something with statehood, and we feel we didn't get it. It's a broken promise.
Clark sees the broken promise as the federal government's steady encroachment on Alaskan land and rights, and asked if his group hates America.
Do I hate America and Americans? No. I don't hate anything. I dislike what they've done to a very fine idea. I dislike it intensely. They may very well have spoiled it for a lot of future generations because they have taken the smell of freedom out of it. It's a race, and I'm not part of it.
As the sun sets near Fox, Alaska, fresh-thawed caribou is being prepared for dinner, and the Clarks can't imagine why anyone would want to live any other way. Let's bring in Jeffrey Toobin now. He's our legal analyst to kind of parse this for us. They say, Jeffrey, look, we're not secessionists, but taking away Vogler's words, we went into their platform on their website. And I'll read to you just some of the things that it says on their platform. You explain them to us. They want to support and defend states' rights. They want to advocate the convening of a state constitutional convention. They want to reestablish the rights of all Alaskan residents to enter upon all public lands within the state. And they want to seek the complete repatriation of all public lands. As I read that to you, how do you take it? What are they doing? What do they want?
None of what he is in that platform is unconstitutional or violent. It's very far outside the mainstream of normal American politics. But those sort of objectives for states' rights, for access to state lands, are perfectly legitimate things that people can seek. There's nothing unconstitutional about it.
The question, I guess, then becomes something like this, because it's something that we've tussled with as we've looked at organizations like this. Are they a fringe group masquerading as a party, or are they a party that has some fringe elements in it?
I think it's fair to say it's more the latter. This is very much a political party, which is not advocating anything violent or anything unconstitutional, but it is expressing views that are well to the right of the Republican Party and certainly the Democratic Party. This is not just your everyday party. The degree of independence they are seeking from particularly the federal government is really extreme. And it's particularly ironic in Alaska because thanks to Senator Ted Stevens and others, Alaska has benefited from tax dollars from the lower 58 much more than any other state has. It really has been a beneficiary of big government, not a victim of big government.
Point well made. Jeffrey Toobin, thanks for being with us.
Okay, Rick.
Appreciate it. And by the way, they did get a governor elected before Sarah Palin, which is an important point to